SBR Boxing, we're back, myself and Paul Kelly. That means only one thing, we're in preview mode. And we've got something, I suppose, special for our Albanian fans today. We're previewing the fight between Florian Marku and Chris Kongo. Paul, obviously, Marku, a guy very, very popular, a guy who obviously fights in a certain style, which is entertaining and televisable. Chris Kongo, a guy obviously who last time out lost a majority decision, close majority decision fight against Eko Usman, which is obviously the British Commonwealth titles, but a guy who's also been in the likes of Formella and your man, Michael McKinson. Before we go too much, I suppose everyone's kind of familiar with Marku as our ratings and reviews and rankings and engagement does tend to suggest. So we're not going to go too much into records here. But what I'm going to ask you, Paul, I'm going to come straight out of the gate. Remember, we have got Albania watching. Paul Albania is on our back right now. Is Florian Marku, Paul, a future world champion? Yes or no? Don't let me down, Paul. I don't want to get attacked in the street. Talk to me.
It, we have, as we mentioned, we do seem to have a loyal Albanian fan base. And I hate to be this man, but I'm going to be getting pelters in the comments here. I can just tell already. I'll be getting pelters once they've watched the first minute or two of this video because I do not believe Florian Marku has what it takes to become world champion in the future. Again, I might be proved wrong, but I just think there's so many flaws to his game. It's still very raw. Don't get me wrong, he looked impressive against Dylan Moran, knocking him out in one round, but can you really read into what, like 80 seconds or whatever it was of action? That was his first fight in a good while as well. So hard to tell. And Dylan Moran, yeah, it looked good on paper, but at what level was that really? You know what I mean? Would Dylan Moran win a British title if he was British? Who knows? I maybe have my doubts, but yeah, for me, is Florian Marku a future world champion? I'm sorry to say it, guys. I just can't see it. What about you, mate? Do you agree with me, or are you gonna make the Albanian fans happy here?
Oh, don't put me on the spot like this. But I think look, I'm going to have to say at the moment, obviously, it's a very, very tough division. So for me, I would be surprised if of the current incumbent champions, Florian Marku A got the opportunity and B prevailed. 31 years old, exciting fighter, world champion. Could he get a belt? I mean, I want to say no, Paul. I want to say no, but I also want to leave our fans happy here. So I'm going to say I'm undecided, but I'm leaning towards no currently. But if he develop, if we see, we do need to see improvements against Chris Congo here. We do need to see that. You mentioned obviously some of the names that he has for. We've got a victory over Jenkins, but also Dylan Moran. How high a standard is that? I'm going to be perfectly honest and come out and say not very. Definitely the sort of standards you need to take into, I suppose, a world ranking or or anything like that. So we need to see a lot more, I suppose, from Marku. But he's still fun to watch, obviously. A fighting style that doesn't take a backward step. Let's talk a bit on Chris Congo. I've tried to definitely touch away from that, Paul, because I don't want to join you in the retributions that are coming from our fan base. But let's talk a bit about Chris Congo. Mentioned last time out, obviously the majority decision lost to Eko Usman. Obviously lost to McKinson again. I mentioned your man there. I suppose a guy now with 14-2 record, 7 KOs on the record. Do do you see this, Paul? It might be quite a harsh question to say in some ways, but do you see this as win or bust, this fight for Chris Congo?
That's such a difficult question, and as we like to say, I'm not going to go full McKendry. But I think this is a fight where if Chris Congo doesn't win it, he's completely done at a certain level. I think that after this, he might not get many opportunities again on these big TV platforms against fighters. I think he maybe, unfortunately for him, because his talent deserves more, if he is to lose this fight, he could be used as a gatekeeper for prospects coming up, being like, could they get to the British level or what? So I think that there is a lot of pressure. There's obviously a lot of pressure on Florian Marku because he's the one with the hype and the backing. But at the same time, there's a lot of pressure on Chris Congo here. He'll probably put a lot of pressure on his own shoulders because I think this is it's not. I don't want to say it's a must win because is any fight really a must win? I suppose you always want to win, no matter what fight it is. But is any fight a must win? We've seen countless times before. Like people thought Joe Parker was done after getting beat by Joe Joyce. We're labeling it a must win. Look, since then, if that fight was to happen again, you'd be backing Joe Parker to beat Joe Joyce now. Do you know what I mean? It just shows you that like losing isn't everything, I suppose. But at this stage of the career, I know it's still young, same age as Florian Marku, 31, but just with those defeats at the level, like we've obviously Echo Esserman, it was a close fight, but then we've since seen Echo Esserman get outboxed by Harry Scarf, who then fair play British champion now. But Harry Scarf at one stage was beaten by Anthony Fowler before he'd even had 10 fights. So at what level, what level are we talking about here? So for me, it kind of is a winner bust for Chris Congo. We'll come on to predictions a bit later on, but yeah, I see this as almost a must win for Chris Congo. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with you, Paul. I mean, you've mentioned some names there, and I think I mean Harry Scarf, I think is ranked, number 3 in the British rankings in the division as well, which for me is also high. But I look at like I do think so. I think Chris Congo's got to win this, and I do think it's a sense that it's opportunities, like you mentioned. Like you say, if he loses here to Marku, does he get a call up again? Does he maybe go into that kind of gatekeeper-ish for sort of, English British title level for sort of prospects? Maybe not, obviously not on the bigger stages, etc. It's gonna be a very, very tough rebuild. So I think it actually is win or bust for Chris Congo. But I also feel like, and you made a very astute point there, Paul, there's actually in some ways win or bust for both fighters. There's a lot of pressure on both fighters here to come through this because we've seen obviously Marku, the kind of attitude that he portrays, I suppose, and the kind of like fan base that he has. They want certain things essentially, and you essentially want a certain style, and you want it to translate up. And if it doesn't, then there's going to be problems. Paul, talking of problems, we've got to come to predictions now, and I'm not going to be chivalrous again, Paul. You're going first. Congo versus Marku. Who wins, Paul? The O2. Talk to me. Why and by what method?
So I would just like to say to all of our Albanian fans, if you want to stop watching now, feel free. Thanks very much for watching. I enjoyed speaking to you. Hope you enjoyed the video. Because I don't think Florian Marku is winning this fight. I'm going Chris Congo, mate. Done the betting show for this. I did the announcement video when the fight was first announced with Stoddy. I know a lot of people and some people at the channel have picked Marku. It is divided, but I see Chris Congo getting through this fight and winning on points. I don't think he'll stop Florian Marku, even though there could perhaps be frailties to the whiskers as we saw against Ryland Charlton. Who knows? But yeah, I'm going Chris Congo on points, mate. The reason I say that is just because I think he has enough to get enough skills to get around Marku. I think Marku will be dangerous early, and as long as Chris Congo can navigate those first two, three, 4 rounds, I think it can take over and win the fight. Not convincingly on points, maybe close enough. Both fighters will win rounds, but ultimately I see Chris Congo doing enough, winning say 7 rounds, and getting the job done on the judges' scorecards. What do you think, mate?
Well, Bain, I'd like to first of all apologise to my co-host here. I agree with what you say. Actually, I think if he can come through Marku's early on the slot, there's a chance actually for Congo. But I actually do think that Marku's going to win this. Do I think he'll stop him? I actually don't think he's going to stop him. I agree with you there. I think he's going to go the distance. I think he's got enough essentially Congo to get to the end, 10-round fight. So I actually predict it's going to be Florian Marku on points. I think it will be a close fight, but equally I just feel like there's something in the momentum of Florian Marku, which means he might get a judging decision in a close fight here. So I'm going to edge towards Marku on points. But guys who are watching, let us know what you think. Don't abuse Paul in the street. He does his best here, Albania. Don't do anything to him that's going to permanently affect him. I need him on the previous show. But let us know in the comments whether you agree or disagree, how you see this fight playing out, whether you think it will be a stoppage victory for Marku, whether you think Congo might get to the end of this as well, might even prevail. We've got other obviously fights coming up on the channel, other breakdowns, interviews with fighters, and reaction and indeed footage from weigh-ins and media days and all that sort of stuff on the channel. So please check out that and let us know in the comments what you think. Paul, as always, it's been a delight to be joined by you. Whether this is the last time or not, giving you a prediction, we don't know, but a bit of a delight to be joined by you as always. And guys, thank you very much for watching.
Cheers, mate, and thanks, guys, for watching.